Hello there, people of the internet. I had an interesting experience with well, I was going to call him a young man, but he's about my age, but he looks like a young man. He's one of those people that no matter how old they get, they kind of continue to hold that baby face status, and nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm definitely not going to hound someone on that. But I was talking to somebody. I'm not gonna go into who it was, but I was talking to somebody. And this guy, about my age, kind of baby-faced looking, but he's very heavy set, if you catch my drift. He's definitely got some girth onto him, and he's probably about, this tall, and my bet he probably weighs around 400 pounds. He's definitely a very heavy dude, and he's not a gun guy, and he's not really someone that I even know all that well. But anyway, we were talking, and he was telling me that he wants to get himself a rifle, like his first rifle, for an end-of-the-world situation. In case things go down, he doesn't like how the world is going right now. He doesn't like the things going on all around the world, and including here in the United States. And he says, hey man, I want to get myself a good rifle for an end-of-the-world situation. And I kind of scratched my head, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, I can help you with that. I will never, ever tell someone that they should not get themselves a rifle to protect their life and liberty. However, whenever I was talking to this guy, I was like, all right, what's your preferences? I don't know. I have no idea what I want. All right, I can help you figure that out. We'll figure out what kind of gun guy you are. What's your experience with firearms? I don't know. I've never even shot a gun. Okay, have you played any video games? Because as much as people like to hate on video games, a lot of people know how to do proper sight alignment and target acquisition from video games. Well, no, this guy does not play shooter games. He plays other games like solitaire and whatnot. He's one of those kind of guys, right? So he doesn't know how to line up sights. He doesn't know about anything with firearms. He literally knows absolutely nothing with firearms, and he's telling me he wants to get himself a rifle to go into the end of the world with. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I can absolutely help you with something like that. So I asked him, what do you know about firearms maintenance? Are you at least a little bit familiar with the idea of cleaning and maintaining a firearm? And of course he said absolutely not. So we have this guy who knows absolutely nothing about firearms, and I kind of scratch my head, and I'm like, all right, I haven't really talked to someone who knows literally nothing about them, so let's go ahead and dive right in. If it's someone who's going to not be maintaining their firearms all that much simply because they don't have the knowledge set behind it, my recommendation for this guy was to get himself an AK platform. Out of the box, without any maintenance or anything like that, the AK platform, if you get yourself a good quality AK, not one of those crappy bottom tier US made ones, and I'm sure you guys know the company I'm talking about, but if you get yourself a good quality AK, and you do not necessarily know how to maintain your firearms, the AK can continue to run for a very long time without maintenance. Yes, I recommend that you maintain your AK. However, it can run for a very long time without maintenance. So if you don't know proper firearms maintenance, then this right here would probably be a very good option for you. That being said, before I suggested anything with this guy, I recommended that he get a little bit of training and firearms knowledge. Whenever you are looking for a firearm for a practical purpose and you don't necessarily know what you want, doing a little bit of research and trying to figure out what kind of gun guy you are, whether or not you're an AK guy or an AR guy or an M1 Garand guy or a G3 guy or an FAL guy or a M14 guy or an M1A in the case of the civilian platform. Whatever it is that you decide to get, do a little bit of research and try to figure out the pros and cons of what platform it is that you decide to look into. My suggestion for this guy, just because he didn't know anything about firearms maintenance and he didn't know literally anything, my suggestion was the AK. 7.62 by 39. It's nice and powerful. The AK, with this guy being as big as he is, I mean, it's lightweight enough. He'll be able to handle it. Lots of pros with this thing. If you don't know how to properly lube your rifle, then these things can run dry, no problem. With it being a piston-operated system, the break-in period for the AK is not as intense as the break-in period for an AR. For an AR, whenever it comes right out of the box, if you don't do any maintenance to it, a lot of your budget tier ARs especially will have a period of time where they get a couple of malfunctions, and that's just what happens whenever you're trying to break in your firearm. If you get yourself a piston-driven AK, it lends itself, in my experience, to not be as unreliable out of the box without any maintenance as the AR platform does. That's one of the main reasons why I suggested the AK over the AR. But I gave this guy the option of the AK, and that was my recommendation, and he was like, all right, yeah, cool, that's a pretty good recommendation. And I'm like, yeah, but the rifle, well, the bow does not matter. It's all about the Indian, not the arrow being fired. So how good you are with that rifle and your ability to maintain that rifle and keep it going definitely dramatically outweighs the rifle itself. I would fear the man with a Ruger 1022 who knows how to use it very effectively over the complete novice with an M14 who's never shot a firearm in his life. I would definitely fear the man who knows what he's doing over the man who does not have any inkling of an idea. So I told this guy, figure out, you know, do some research, do the odds and ends stuff, figure out how to maintain your firearm and whatnot. As a matter of fact, I even offered to show this guy, and I'll probably end up doing exactly that. But on top of that, if you're going to go into the end of the world, guess what, buddy? You're a little on the large side. Like I said, this guy was incredibly girthy, and whereas I'm not against anything like that, this is the type of guy who can't move around very much. Like, I am in my mid-20s, and this guy's the same age as me, but this guy can't, whenever he wakes up in the morning, his extent of his morning, he survives on disability, I think. I don't believe he even has a job. But whenever he gets up in the morning, I know this for a fact because I have literally seen this with my own eyes. He wakes up and his routine throughout the day is to get food and hang out in front of his TV or his computer. And he goes outside and he smokes cigarettes, and that is his life. That is what he does. So in terms of the end of the world, getting just a little bit of physical training or even some fresh air and some sunlight would probably do you some good. It doesn't matter if you have yourself like a top tier AK and the best equipment in the world. If you go out and get yourself plate carriers and medical supplies and all this stuff right here, if you can't even manage to walk out of your house without getting winded, I don't want to harp on this guy. I don't want to give him any issues, but at the same time, if you're going to look into something that will give you, if you're going to look into something that is for the end of the world, or something that you may have to use to defend your life and liberty, by all means, you go ahead and you get your tools and equipment and whatnot. But I absolutely, definitely, 110% recommend getting yourself a little bit of physical training to go with that. It doesn't matter if you get yourself the best rifle and the best equipment and whatnot, if you can't manage to walk for 50 feet with wearing that equipment, or hell, even if you can't get that stuff on. Like, with how big this guy is, with how girthy he is, if he got himself a large plate carrier, I'm just going to use my body as a ratio aspect. If he got himself like the largest plate carrier that I can possibly think of, it would only cover about this much of his chest. I mean, he's a big dude, right? But he's not very strong, he's not very fast, and he's certainly not very skilled. So, like I said, my recommendation before I told this guy to do anything with a rifle was to get training and get a little bit of knowledge with said firearm. Now, you go out, you get yourself a little bit of physical training. I mean, hell, just start walking. Like, there are days where I want to do a little bit of a workout, but man, I'm just so freaking exhausted with everything I'm doing. So instead of doing like the typical muscular workout that I would do, I would just kind of grab my heavy rucksack and go for a walk, and I'd walk 3 miles, and that would be my workout for the day. And it burns calories. It's a good way to build some muscle while at the same time not completely destroying myself. And if you can't manage that 3 miles, then you don't have to do 3 miles. I mean, hell, like I said, this guy doesn't even really leave his home. He barely gets sunlight. So just going for a walk around the block would absolutely do that guy some good. Just start with the minimum basics and start getting yourself just a little bit. Learn how to walk, learn how to crawl, learn how to walk, learn how to run. Well, this guy's already crawling. He actually got himself an AK whenever I suggested it. I think he got himself an Arsenal AK, if memory serves me properly. I'm not sure, I didn't look 100% into it, but I know he got himself a rifle. I know he has not shot it yet. And my next suggestion, after getting yourself just a little bit of physical training, take the rifle out to the range and run a couple of rounds through it. If you're going to be bringing a rifle into the end of the world, my suggestion, run, hell, honestly, I would suggest running no less than 500 rounds through it, but that's just my own personal preference, just to make sure it's going to run properly and whatnot. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be an AK. It can be, if you decide to get yourself an AR or a G3 or an M14 or an FAL or whatever it is that you decide to go ahead and go with, go ahead and go with that particular platform, or go ahead and go with that particular platform, but take it out to the range and make sure that your rifle in particular is going to run properly, and make sure that it works with the ammunition that you got. Make sure it's zeroed. You'd be amazed how many people I have come out here to the gun range. I think in the past 3 months, I've had probably about half a dozen people come out here with their own personal firearms, and their own personal firearms aren't even zeroed, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, what are you doing? So, yeah, make sure the rifle is zeroed for the ammunition that you're going to be using. In this particular case, a lot of times when you're getting AK, it's got built-in iron sights on it. That rifle is going to be zeroed at the factory. Now, if the rifle is a budget tier AK and not really set up all that well, you might notice your front sight is canted one way or the other by some extreme amount. Luckily for this particular AK, this is a Romanian RH-10, I don't really have that big of an issue with my front sight being canted. But take the rifle to the range, learn how to shoot it, make sure that it actually functions properly, learn the ins and outs of the rifle, do all these things just to make sure that the rifle's going to run, and carry it around. If you find that just holding your rifle like this is going to exhaust you, especially if you pull that trigger a couple of times, and you find that the recoil impulse and whatnot out of one single magazine is going to completely exhaust you, I've had plenty of people come out with their rifles and get completely exhausted after just one magazine, then that means you probably got to do a little bit of physical training. But bring it out, go to the gun range, make sure she runs right, learn how to do the ins and outs of the rifle, like safety check, make sure that the rifle is unloaded. For the AK, just kind of pull this back, look in the chamber, look in the magazine. Yep, that's empty. Right here's your safety. Learn how to use the sights. Just learn everything with your rifle. Get good at taking the mags out and putting new mags in. With the AK, it's a little bit more tricky than the AR, which is a mag system that just kind of pops out and you put the new mag in. Definitely some quirks with the AK that you got to learn and train on. Don't expect to just automatically be good with it. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. I wanted to share this story because it was an interesting one. Someone with no experience whatsoever and someone with basically no physical training whatsoever coming and saying that they want to be ready for the end of the world. Get ready, get stronger, get faster, get healthier, drop some weight. Get more capable, and then train with your firearm. Your firearms training can count as your PT training as well, so kind of hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Description below. Link to all sorts of stuff. Go check that out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next episode.
I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.